G'day, this is Eric Banner for RAD, recording artists, actors and athletes against drink driving. Here's a simple word of advice. If you enjoy a drink when you go out, keep it simple. Unless you're a rocket scientist, how do you really know whether you're under or over the limit? So try this. Either drink or drive. Don't mess around trying to do both.
A message from RAD, recording artists, actors and athletes against drink driving.
This is Lee Drew, inviting you to join me Fridays at 11 on KC Radio for Showbiz. 2 hours of entertaining radio, where I talk to the stars of stage and screen, locally, nationally and internationally. Make it a date. Tune to 97.7 FM each Friday.
97.7 FM, the sound of the Southeast.
The views and ideas expressed on this show are strictly of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas of the listeners.
Are you ready for an hour of power and leadership? Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and build on being an effective communicator. Let's turn up the motivation, inspiration, and the power with your host and coach, and help me welcome Ryan Gomez.
Well, top of the morning to you all, and welcome back to 97.7 FM KC Radio for Sound of Southeast. That is, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, everyone, and, wish you a very happy new year. This is the first segment for the year 2019. Wow, I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be a fabulous, fantastic year this year. Well, some great guests, mixed a few things around, and we're going to have a lot happening on the segment over this year 2019, so stay tuned. And I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one that have been listening in and downloading the podcasts, and I endeavored to do that over the last couple of years. We've been putting podcasts out there so people can download and have a listen to it. So if you're not listening this morning, and feel free to do so in the next 24 hours or so, I'll endeavor to get a podcast up there where you can have a listen to, and commuting to work, driving in your car, listening to Ryan Gomez and his guests on an hour of power and leadership. I hope you have a fantastic 2018 and had a great new year going into 2019. How things, what is set for 2019? And this is the question I keep asking a lot of people when I meet them now. And what are your goals, and what do you set out to achieve? And in saying that, I've got a great guest coming in. The first guest for this year, that is Warren FREHSE, we'll be speaking to after this. And he'll be speaking a lot about goal setting. And he's a professional development coach, mentor, and he's doing a lot of work in this area, in this space, if I can put it that way. So he's going to be speaking to us after about 8:30 this morning on a better way to achieve your goals and going into the new year, and things that actually work. And that's what Warren's going to be speaking about. So stay tuned after about 8:30 this morning. It's I always say on the segment, everything I say on the segment and everything my guests say on the segment is nothing. It's our views and ideas, and does not reflect the views and ideas of our listeners. So in saying that, but if you find a nugget or two, take it, run with it, use it in your life, use it in your business, in your careers, and take your life to the next level. And make those changes happen, make some choices, make some decisions, and that's all I talk about in the segment. It's to our national and international listeners, it's great to have your company once again, and I keep saying this. It's a lot of the feedback that's been coming in over the last year and over the last couple of years on the segment. It's great. It's great to have your feedback coming in, and that way we can look at doing things a little differently maybe at some point in time. And look, like I said, keep your feedback coming in. That's the most important key. And we are streaming live on the web. That is all the w's.kcradio.com.au. So that's every Saturday morning we stream live from about 8 o'clock. That's on www.kcradio.com.au. It's great, isn't it? You're sitting up in this little studio in Cranbourne and in Melbourne, and streaming globally. I must say, the international listeners, I've had quite a lot of downloads and messages coming from some of the countries, and I hope I don't miss some of the countries, and I'd like to emphasize that. So India has been a fantastic listeners in India, Thailand, Malaysia, we got US and Sri Lanka have been some of the biggest supporters and some of the biggest download. A lot of downloads from into these countries and listeners up there. And it's saying that, like I said, feel free to download a copy of the podcast in the next 24 hours or so. I'll have it on my Facebook page. And again, my Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez Coaching. I'll say it again. That's www.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez Coaching. Let's get straight into the segment. I'm really pumped this morning. Being the first segment, I'm fresh and ready to go. 2019, yeah, that's it. And we got Warren speaking after about 8:30 this morning. A better way to achieve your New Year goals and things that actually work. And that's what Warren's going to be speaking about. So Warren FREHSE, he does a lot of work in the professional development area. Let's The question I ask is, going straight into the segment, I like to say is, are you creating positive change in your life? And, a lot of you saying, hey, Ryan, come on. It's a bit early this morning, but this is what I do on every Saturday morning from 8 to 9 is giving you a nugget or two, take it, run with it, and use it in your life, in your business, in your career, and make those changes. So creating a positive change going into 2019, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit about, emphasize a lot on, is what positive change are you making in your life at this point in time? So going into 2019, what are some of the positive changes you'd like to make in your life? What are some of the goals you'd like to achieve? What are some of the choices you've already started making? Not looking at the circumstances around you, and I say this time and time again, it's never the circumstances in life that determine the person you become. Oh no, it's never the circumstances in life, but rather it's the choices you make in your life that determine the person you become. So what choices are you making going into 2019? Some of the choices you're making is saying, this is what I'm going to stick to. And there's no harm in saying, okay, you've started off your goals in 2018 and you've never hit them. But you've gone through, and in saying that, you've gone through a lot where you've achieved a lot of those goals in 2018. No harm in saying, hey, you know what, 2019, a good year, let's move forward, take those goals and start working a lot more with those goals. So, I say to you, sir, people do change and often in a dramatic way and life-altering way. I say this with full confidence, as I've witnessed this from time to time. I've seen this happening, a lot. Creating a positive change in your life is totally possible. Is possible, absolutely possible. And it's the decision you need to make and a choice you need to make to be able to say, hey, I want to change something different. I want to make those changes, and it's possible, absolutely possible. And you see that from time to time. And I've seen that. I've witnessed that from a lot of times. And when you're fully committed to making those changes in your life, it will happen. The commitment is based on the depth and the desire of the growth in what you want to achieve. So once you've made a choice, you've made yourself totally awareness. The awareness is starting there, and you've got to be honest with your present reality. So where you are, living in the moment, and being honest with your present reality. So where you are today, and how do you want to move forward, and what is the better new you want to create. The one constant thing we happen, whether you like it or not, in this universe is change. Everything that exists is in a state of change. I say this. As a part of the universe, we are a part of the cycle of change. And whether we like it or not, change is happening constantly. The experiences you have today will impact you in such a way that will awaken your tomorrow, and it'll change. It's changed in some way or some form or the other. Once you hit your 40s and your 50s, and the kid in you that you were 20s is pretty much gone, and the wiser you is standing. And again, it's up to you to make those choices and to be able to want to change something in your life. And change can happen can happen on a number of levels. I want you to stay track with me. I know it's early this morning, from 8 o'clock this morning, but I want you to stay in track with me. And it's important that moving into 2019, I want to touch a lot on this today. So, like I said, change can happen on a number of levels. In business, we might look at being more effective as a leader or as a manager in order to increase productivity. This might entail to changing how you deal with people, improving yourself, the motivation, the communication skills you want to be able to develop, Change might mean a new career. It could be a lifestyle. It could be a relationship. It means building more confidence and self-esteem, on learning to be less aggressive, if I can put it that way, and building building a great attitude about yourself. So everything entitles around this thing called confidence and self-esteem. When you build that confidence and self-esteem, things start to work, things start to change. Change involves inner work before the outer work begins. And that is always the case, absolutely. Because, and you say Albert Einstein said it, and he said it well. He said, the significant problem we face cannot be solved on the same level of thinking we were when we created them. Even Stephen Covey says in his critically acclaimed book, he says the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I'm sure a lot of you have read that book, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He stresses that the concept of inner work before outer work or change. The inside-out approach to change means to start first with yourself. To literally start with yourself, start contemplating and thinking about things that you within yourself. It's fundamental, absolutely fundamental, to be able to develop and change that, to have that paradigm shift, and that create that character and motivate yourself. That's when you build that confidence and the self-esteem I talk about. So if change is to happen and is to last, we need to acknowledge that we must take a good look at ourselves, where we are today, and what is it that we want to, and who do we want to be in the future. And what is it that we need to do? Again, it comes down to the choices we need to make. And not looking at the circumstances around it, but choices. So what choices are you making today in your life? So choices you make today, I'll say it again and again. I've said this many times on the segment, and I say it constantly, and I see this happening when people take ownership of their life and start to reflect on themselves and say, what is it that I need to change? And in order to make those changes, you need to make some choices, some tough, bold choices. So it's never the circumstances in life that determine the person you become. Going into 2019, you have a lot of circumstances around. There's a lot of things that are affecting at this point in time. Looking at you, sitting back and saying, hey, you know what? There's a lot happening in my space, a lot happening in the space around me at this point in time. But at the end of the day, circumstances are going to be there no matter what. But in saying that, you need to make some choices. I came in this morning. I listened to a couple of great people. Just saying, hey, you know what? I asked the question, and I ask this question all the time. What is it that you want to do moving into 2019? What are some of the changes you need to make? And bang, without even doubt, there was the answer was thrown out. Hey, I've made a choice. This is what I'm going to be doing in 2019. Just this morning, just about 15, 20 minutes ago. And this person said to me, hey, this is the change I'm going to make, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is where I'm going to go. That's confidence, that's self-esteem, that's positive work on yourself to say, this is the change I want to make. So it's never the circumstances around, but it's the choices you make in your life that determine the person you become. So I'm going to touch a little more. I'm going to go a little more deeper into this, creating a positive change in your life, and how do you create that positive change in your life. But let's go to a short break, and we'll be right back after this. You're tuned into 97.7 FM, KC Radio, on an hour of power and leadership with me, Ryan Gomez. And we are streaming live on the web. That is www.kcradio.com.au. And you can jump on my Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez Coaching, that is. Well, kick off with a track first. Hey, going into 2019, one of my all-time favorites, and a bit of Huey Lewis on the band. Let's go to that. Stuck With You.
Some fun. Yes, we've had our ups and downs. Been down that rocky road. Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. I am happy to be stuck with you. Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. I'm so happy to be stuck with you. 'Cause I can see that you're happy to be stuck with me. We are bound by all the rest, like the same for another, all the same friends and the same address. Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. I am happy to be stuck with you. Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. I'm so happy to be stuck with you. 'Cause I can see that you're happy to be stuck with me. Yes, it's true. I'm so happy to be stuck with you. I'm happy to be stuck with you. Happy to be stuck with you.
If you're worried that someone you know is going through a difficult time, there are some simple things you can do that could make a big difference. A great starting point is to remember the 4 steps to a conversation. Ask, "Are you okay?" Listen with an open mind. Encourage action and check in. Be relaxed and friendly and don't rush the conversation. Don't judge them and let them know that you understand that things seem tough for them. For more information on how to start a conversation with someone you're worried about, visit ruok.org.au.
You're listening to People Powered Radio, proudly supported by the Community Broadcasting Foundation. cbf.com.au.
The Shed. We've packed away the tools and we've moved to a new time slot of 8 p.m. on a Friday night. We look forward to you joining us there, right here on KC Radio 97.7 FM.
Playing a better mix of old and new. KC Radio 3SER 97.7 FM.
Welcome back to 97.7 FM, KC Radio, for an hour of power and leadership with me, Ryan Gomez. It's an absolute privilege and a plum pleasing pleasure to be speaking to you on 97.7 FM, KC Radio. Welcome back. It's great to be speaking to you in the new year. That's 2019. And I'm sure you have a lot planned for this year, moving forward with your goals and making those positive changes and so on and so forth. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. My Facebook page is www.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez Coaching. That is www.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez Coaching. And you can also jump on my website if you like to. That is www.ryan-gomez.com. And we are streaming live on the web. That is www.kcradio.com.au. Locally on the dial, we are 97.7 FM KC Radio. So I just want to dig a little more deeper into this whole thing of creating positive change in your life. You know, I'd like to speak, and this is great to be speaking about this in the next, over the next couple of weeks. This is what I want to be talking about moving into 2019. So I was talking about creating that positive change and how do you create that positive change in your life. And for the better. See, our subconscious mind or our subconscious tends to run the show and not us mostly. And most importantly, we need to take full responsibility of our lives and not start blaming people for your mistakes and you know, everyone else, as a matter of fact. You know, that involves giving up the need to control things, you know, except, of course, yourself. Until you're willing to do this work and do the kind of work, change will occur. And nothing else will work unless you make a choice and to then decide to make a change. The questions I always ask people when I sit with one-on-one with individuals and sales staff and life coaching aspect of things, I ask the questions like, where are you feeling dissatisfied? Where is it that you're feeling dissatisfied? So I'm asking you the question out there. So if you want to write down some of the stuff, absolutely go for it. So where is it that you're feeling dissatisfied at this point in time? What are you noticing? The things that need to be changed in your life. What are you noticing? Some of the things that need to be changed in your life. Like I said, if you want to write it down, absolutely go for it. These are some of the questions I ask people all the time. Where are you feeling stuck at this point in time? Where are you feeling stuck? And you need to identify these issues. You need to identify them. And, recognizing exactly where you are, and then consider where would you like to be in the future. And how would you like everything to run and run smoothly? For instance, if your sales team is not performing up to budget, and you're having difficult times motivating them to in succeeding or achieving the success that the organization needs, consider what a sales team is highly motivated. What highly motivates them, and what would success look like for them. Consider what your role would be in achieving that goal. Who would you be? How would you function? How would you feel? The gap where you are now and where you want to be is where the work has to be done. Like I said, in life coaching, we find this, always have this ability to help people in finding that where the values and the passions are aligned with the job, and what are the requirements. And you need to find that. So where are your passions, and how is it aligned with your job, or how is it aligned with your career? How is it aligned with the business you're doing, and moving forward? After some serious, inquiry, if I can put it that way, you might discover that some of the things that are called for motivating your sales team, let's say it absolutely consists of patience, enthusiasm, it's about nurturing them, about mentoring them, coaching them on that team atmosphere. These are some of the kind of things that hold value for you. If not, you will be unable to be effective in what you're doing. You need to do the important inner work of discovering who you are. And, you hear this all the time, how do I discover who I am? What matters to you? What is it that really matters to you? Some of the questions I'm putting out there, think about it. So what are your passions? Where do your passions lie? What value you place on them? What are some of the things that are showing up every day in your life? So, if being successful in your work is of great value to you, then what are you willing to do? And, in order to be successful, are you willing to make those necessary changes? Are you willing to try something different? Are you willing to try something new? Are you willing to make some choices? Are those things aligned with your values and your passions? These are some of the questions you need to ask. I know it's early this morning and a lot of questions are being thrown out there, but I'm breaking it down and I'm going really slowly through this, and I want you to contemplate on some of the things I'm talking about. So what are you willing to say yes? What are you willing to say no to? And what is more important to you? What is your value system? I said awareness, as mentioned, it really affects change. And when we're living our life in a state of true awareness, in a true conscious, and we're conscious of our actions, we can free ourselves and free ourselves from reactive, defeating behavior, and realize some of our personal best, and bring out our personal best, if I can put it that way. So these are some of the things I'd like to talk about, and some of the decisions, going into 2019, making those decisions and really contemplating and looking at your inner values. Again, looking at your inner values and is aligned with what you're doing right now. Because if it's not aligned with what you're doing right now, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to give your 100%. You're never going to focus and create the success you need in your life. And then that negative, element will set in. And once that sets in, everything is negative around you. Life is negative, people are negative, everything that you see out there is negative, and you don't function at your best. So even if you say, oh, you're Ryan, but I need to make a living, I need to do this, I need to do that. Fantastic. Do what you're doing out there. And I have absolutely no challenges. You need to do what you're doing out there. But then look at, spending maybe a little bit of time over this 2019, maybe an hour or half an hour every single day, aligning yourselves with your values, contemplating on some of the decisions you need to make, some of the choices you need to make, and working on that. Because that then fulfills and satisfies you moving into your day in what you're worth. So it's important to understand these things, some of the things I'm talking about, and I do when I go into when I speak to individuals and in life coaching and help them. Some of the questions I ask them these are some of the questions I ask them, and I get them to write down and start contemplating on themselves and what is it that they want to do and how they want to move forward. And if they really want to achieve certain things and they want to achieve a positive outcome in what they want to do, is they need to start contemplating and looking at themselves right now. And not going through every single day, just, doing what is out there as a norm. So you need to start realizing some of these things, some of these factors I was talking about, some of these, points I put out there, and start to not be reactive about things, but start contemplating on some of the things that you need to do in order to move forward, moving into 2019, that is. It's amazing when I speak to individuals constantly, and I love speaking to people all the time, and this is what I do all the time, speaking to individuals, and you see there's people that have so much of enthusiasm and the passion comes out. It's because of the confidence they've built over themselves and what they want to do and how they want to move forward. But when you speak, on the other hand, when you speak to individuals that have no idea, have no goal set in what they want to achieve, they're all over the place. They're shooting all over the place. They're shooting in the dark in different directions, not hitting the target. So it's about focusing and working on that and looking at yourself. So don't let your subconscious mind run with the show. Take a step back. Think about what is it that you want to do, not being reactive about things. I know this is a lot this morning I'm talking about, and if you're having a cup of coffee this morning, going, Ryan, come on, and we are moving into 2019, so I'm really I'm pumped. I've set goals for 2019, want to achieve them, and I know I'll achieve them. It's not that I want to achieve them; I know that I'll achieve them. It's the confidence. And, it's important that you make some choices. Again, I always say this, make some choices. Make some choices. You're tuned to 97.7 FM, KC Radio, an hour of power and leadership. With me, Ryan Gomez. It's an absolute privilege and a pleasure speaking to you this morning. It's great to have your company nationally and internationally. We are locally on the dial, which is 97.7 FM. And we are streaming live on the web, that is www.kcradio.com.au. Once again, www.kcradio.com.au. And feel free to jump on my Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez Coaching, that is. And, endeavor to download a copy of the podcast, and I'll put it up there. It's in the next 24 hours or so, it'll be up there. And you can have a listen to. Let's go to a short break and we'll be right back. I've got a guest, our first guest for the year, Warren FREHSE. We'll be speaking to Warren FREHSE, and Warren has done and is constantly doing a lot of work in the professional development area. He's a mentor, coach, and he does some great work in this space. And we're going to be speaking about, we said, look, let's better way to kick off the year by speaking about New Year goals. So how do you go about achieving goals? I spoke about choices. I spoke about, looking at the circumstance, making some decisions and moving forward and looking deep within yourself. I don't know if it was a lot this morning, absolutely a lot this morning. But if you've been taking notes, absolutely go for it and make things happen for yourself. And that's the absolute key. And this is what the segment is all about. And everything we say on the segment, I'll say it again, it's our views and ideas. It does not reflect the views and ideas of your listeners. But if you find a nugget or two, take it, run with it, use it. Be right back after this. This is Ryan Gomez on an hour of power and leadership.
You might find Australia Day in a neighbourly wave. Maybe it's when you get everyone together. How about welcoming someone new? Or doing something you love? Do you find it by enjoying the familiar? Is yours a whole new rhythm? Maybe it's found in the world around you. Or is it where you've been all along? Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, find your Australia Day.
G'day guys, BJ
and the Ump
here, inviting you all to join us every Saturday from 10 a.m. for everything cricket on the West Gippsland Cricket Radio Show here on 97.7 FM KC Radio.
If you are looking for a wider variety of your favourite music, then you've found the answer. KC Radio, the sound of the Southeast.
there you have it, a bit of Dire Straits. What better to go into the show singing than a bit of Dire Straits up there. But Walk of Life, one of my all-time favorites. Fantastic. Hey, I was rocking in the studio here. Absolutely motivated going into 2019, that is. And I hope you are too. Well, good morning if you are tuned in and listening in and thinking, who's this on the radio? Well, it's Ryan Gomez on An Hour of Power and Leadership every Saturday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. That is, and you are streaming live on the web. So we are streaming globally live on the web. That is www.kcradio.com.au. My Facebook page is www.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez Coaching, and also jumped on my LinkedIn page as well. And give us a like, leave us a comment, and feel free to leave us a comment. That's absolute key. And I think but a lot of individuals I know send me a lot of messages, and from time to time, it's great to have your messages and your emails coming in. But feel free to leave. It's an open forum, like I said. Feel free to leave a comment on the Facebook page. LinkedIn, I know LinkedIn is probably not very popular at this point in time with what I do, but I know Facebook is very. But feel free to do so. In saying that, I have a special guest. Like I said, we're going to be speaking to my first guest for the year, and an absolute privilege to have him, Warren FREHSE, who's a professional development coach, a mentor, and a great person, a great individual, and someone I've looked up to as well. And we've known one another for quite a while. And he does a lot of work in the professional and development coaching space itself. And we're going to be speaking about a better way to achieve your New Year goals and things that actually work. So without further ado, please help me welcome Warren. Warren, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Ryan, and all your listeners. It's the first show for 2019. Thanks for having me on your first show.
Well, it's an absolute privilege and a pleasure having you on the program, Warren. I know you're absolutely motivated and moving into 2019. You have bubbling out there to make things happen, and I thought, who best to get on the show for the first segment?
You're too kind, Ryan. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's the year's shaping up already. I think we're 12 days into it, so people are saying now the year's going so far. But you mentioned earlier, just before we got on, that getting up early in the morning, and I came across a book. Robin Sharma, who's one of guru in this area. He's got a book out now called the 5 a.m. Club, and it's about getting up at 5 a.m. and clearing your mind for the day, for the day ahead of you. And I must admit, I haven't joined that club yet, but he advocates the importance of clearing your mind every day. So I think that's a good way to start the year, isn't it? Just to get up in the morning and clear your mind and think about what are you going to achieve for that day. Just take things in small bites rather than huge chunks. Yes.
And it makes sense, though. I mean, I understand the whole concept of waking at 5 a.m., and I do that a lot, and
Great.
When you get into that space, and I can tell, from experience itself, you get into that space because it's quiet, and the world is sleeping at that point in time. Well, most of the world is sleeping at that point in time, and you have that time to sort of contemplate on your day and your week ahead of you, which is, and I believe in that concept. It's absolutely critical for people to do that, as opposed to just jumping up, waking up to the alarm, rushing, rush, not knowing where. What's entitled for the day itself, if you know what I mean.
I think so. And when we're talking about resolutions, people start off with very, very huge goals, and sometimes I want to talk about this morning a little bit about the concept of course correction, because we can set huge goals, or huge resolutions in this case, or as we normally call them at this time of the year. But research shows about 80% of resolution makers trade enthusiasm for disappointment by early February. So we're coming up to that. Other research indicates about 30% don't even make it that far. So they're ditching their resolutions before they reach the 2-week mark. And so it's not looking a good picture when it comes to the actual word of talking of resolutions, particularly if it's made on New Year's Eve or just in the first week of the year. So there's a school of thought about, thinking, take some time out and get your resolutions or your goal setting around about the March, when the Christmas period and the holiday period's all over. So clear your mind and start setting some goals around about March. And there's another school of thought, and I thought I'll just talk about a few things I've come across recently, and one of them is just this concept of having one word for 2019. Did you come across that? I was bombarded on my social media early in this month with people saying, I'm choosing one word for 2019, and that's going to direct my actions for the year.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I thought about that. I thought, well, what is my one word? And I was out for dinner with some people, and they said, well, think about if you're struggling with your word, think about the first letter of your first name, and then find a word that it starts with the same letter. I struggled with mine, my name being Warren, I was thinking, but W, what could it be? So anyway, I ditched that idea, but I came up with the word curiosity. So for me, it's going to be about being more curious during 2019.
Yes.
And that means I'm opening up my mind for things I haven't discovered yet, asking more questions about things, being more curious, maybe trying new things, more discoveries, going to places I haven't been to, just in general life. And, and that can also flow into your career and your professional life as well.
True. Well, that's a great way of putting it. I mean, it's a start, isn't it? You need to start somewhere. And going back to what you said is a lot of people ditch their goals going into probably February, 4 or 5 weeks into it. Now, I just want to, before we talk a little bit about, a better way of achieving and setting your New Year goals, why, and we know the answer to this. Why is it that people do that? Why in the first instance do people say, hey, you know what, and they know this from year to year, they're going to ditch their goals in the next month or couple of months. But why do they keep constantly doing that? What is it? What is the human behavior? Why do people do that? What's the science behind that?
Sure, absolutely. And I think a lot of these resolutions emerge over parties, during parties over December and so on. So we're probably not in a clear state of mind. And and in some cases, some of the goals are about keeping up with the Joneses to some extent. I think they're not genuine, authentic goals that you would like to achieve. If it's about total comparison goals in the sense that you just want to keep up with somebody else, well, then you're focusing on someone else, not yourself. So all your
absolutely.
All your attention, like you said before, that this idea of change is a personal thing. You need to be internally, as you keep stressing, motivated internally. So this idea of comparison is one way they can peter out. There's various ways, and I think one of the things, the key one is probably not documenting the goal in some form or another. You just the simple act of writing it down, whether it's in a planner, on your smartphone or on a fridge. Just having it written down can in fact be a far greater way of making it come into some sort of reality, because the fact that you've written it down means you actually start to look at it and you think about it and you think, well, okay, now how can I start to achieve the realization of that? But this is the first step. The first step is to actually write it down. Many people don't do that. And I think that's where they come unstuck, because they're not. It's not at the front of their attention as much as it could be.
So it's more a wish, isn't it? It's more a wish than a.
That's the first thing. I think the other thing, of course, is reflecting on the importance of the goal that's being set. So for many people, they don't understand why they're actually achieving that particular goal. They might start off with, say, the what. I'm going to do this. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to run more or get fitter. But it's not specific enough, and there's no motivation behind it. There's a great book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek, who says you really can't do much in life unless you've worked out why you're doing it. And he quotes people like Steve Jobs, who started Apple with great intentions, not just to start a computer company, but to actually challenge the status quo. And that in turn creates an environment where people want to work for someone like that, and so it goes. So having this why as to why you're doing something. How often do we ask ourselves, why are we doing this?
That's true. That's very true in what you say.
And many businesses do. They start off with they have their strategy meetings and so on, and they start off with the whats and the hows, and they don't go to the why.
Yep.
And that's another way. So equally, goals set can peter in businesses in as much as it can for an individual as well.
So going right down to the core, and that's the why. You need to go right down to the core, and this is where you put the whole team on the same page. And as opposed to what an individual wants to achieve, you have a team that wants to achieve something once they understand the why.
Yes, having a shared why is important too, I think. And why is an interesting one, because the more you get into this, you sort of think, well, this why is really a key motivator. It's something that sometimes it's difficult to put into words. I think the psychology behind it is that the why is sort of in the limbic brain, where it's all about emotions and so on. And advertisers click on that concept of having an emotional concept to their advertising. They sort of grab your emotions, go straight to your emotional there, and before you know it, you're buying products and you're not realizing why you're doing it, because it's gone into your emotional side of things. And so yes, the whole idea of why is not new, but it's something that we probably need to spend a bit more time thinking about. Developing what that why is, and why, another word for that is probably purpose as well. What is your purpose? That's an interesting one, particularly in the career development areas, trying to align your purpose to the organisation you want to work in. And I think, just last year I ran a workshop for 140 PhD students in Melbourne, and we spent a lot of time on this whole concept of identifying strengths and values and your purpose. And I must admit, I was met with, all the standard cynicism from other stakeholders in this. They would say, why wouldn't the diggins would people want to spend time doing something like that? And, traditionally, I would have probably made it a little bit different, but I tried some new concepts, and, the feedback I got at the end of it was quite remarkable. People said, I've never actually been told in my whole life to spend some time working on my purpose. So, that was encouraging for me, because I thought I did hit the mark, but, you never really know until the workshop's over. And they said, look, they'd like to spend more time doing something like that. So that was encouraging. So I think in many ways people have a bit of a hunger for trying to find out what their purpose is. And I think everyone has a purpose. It's just a matter of detecting it.
Yeah, and I kicked off the program about talking about, looking at yourself. So looking deep within yourself and looking at things, because today in life as such, the way the world is and the environment around us is we're trying to make everyone else happy, but not making ourselves happy in how we go about things. We live in this day and age where, there's this social media, there's a lot happening out there. The world is moving constantly at a great pace that we don't stop to think about ourselves. And this is where, again, coming back to the purpose, when you talk about purpose, and people don't think about themselves, people don't look deep within themselves and what is it that they really want to do, but trying to achieve all the things that other people do, trying to make people happy in saying that. So it's important. You need to contemplate and look at yourself, deep within yourself, and look at that purpose and what is it that you really set out to achieve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're running your own business, of course, there's this idea that people buy why you do it rather than just what you do. And I think that's a really important concept as well. Is that people tend to gravitate to leaders who have a clear why or a clear purpose, and they attract great employees, they attract high performing teams, because people will buy into what they're on about. But they've got to make sure also, as you said, their personal goals also align, their personal purpose aligns with that of the organisation or the leader that they're actually following or being part of. So. Yeah, that's an important part of it. The other part, of course, is to establish a time frame for your goals throughout the year. So in many cases, people set goals, but they're not set with time frames. And I think there's a standard SMART concept here, where the more specific your goal is, the more likely you are to achieve it.
Yep.
And then you have a time frame. And I think, the idea, there was a bit of talk over the break on Talk Radio about the idea of paper planners coming back in fashion. So that's good to see, having people get a pen out, write it on a sheet of paper and put it in your diary, and make sure that, you have some time frames and break them into smaller chunks. I think rather than just have a large goal, break them into quarterly or even weekly, even daily goals. And as I mentioned at the start, maybe your first daily goal is to set your alarm a bit earlier and get up earlier in the morning, whether it's 5 a.m. or 6 or 7 a.m. or whatever it might be. But that can be your first
Absolutely.
change.
And I highly agree with that, and I can't agree much with that what you said. And I think it's important and I always emphasize on that, as opposed to writing your goal on a smartphone, and you get lost in the cloud with everything else that's gone. What's important, well, and it's important. That's what I always emphasize. That it's just you need to have that. You need to go back to that, and it's great to have to hear that concept is coming back.
It is, and I'm a great fan of having a paper book in front of me. Some say I'm old-fashioned, but I think I look around now and I work with a lot of students, and I'm finding those in the 18 to 24 group are going back into bookshops and buying paper books again. So there's a bit of a swing back to that kind of thing, which is great. And that sets up stores like Kiki Cage, the stationery group, and they're a great store because they're very much into motivation and other things. All their products sort of aligned to setting goals and so on. So they're kicking along, and they're expanding like there's no tomorrow. They're right across the country. So.
Warren, let's go to a short break, and we'll be right back. Let's dig a little deeper. We've got a bit of time. We can talk about that. So hang on the line, and we'll come right back to you.
Sure, Ryan.
If you're not sure whether it's a day of total fire ban, here's the number to call: 13 15 99. It's the CFA's recorded information service that tells you about summer fire restrictions, the use of barbecues on total fire ban days, and the requirements for caterers and other tradespeople on declared days. Total fire bans are only declared on days when, according to Weather Bureau estimates, fire danger is expected to be extreme, and any fire that does break out would be hard to control. Ignorance is no excuse, and the penalties are severe. So check first on 13 15 99.
Hey, do you love soul music? Then tune in to me, Pete Challoner, every Thursday from 11 a.m. till 2. I'll play you some Motown, some Northern, and everything in between. So sit back, relax, and unwind as I play you some of the best soul music you'll hear. I'm Pete Challoner, and this is The Soul Scene.
KC Radio 3SER, the better alternative.
Welcome back to 97.7 FM, KC Radio, for an hour of power and leadership. We are speaking to Warren FREHSE. So Warren, going into a better way of achieving your goals, I think it was something I'd like to put it out there. So on my Facebook page, if you want to, feel free to do that. On my radio page, that is, www.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez Coaching. What is the one word you want to move in looking at this year? So if you want to put that one word, and why is it that you want to, I think it'll be great. So feel free to do that in the next week or so on my Facebook page. It'll be great to hear from you, and great to connect with you as well.
I love that idea. I'll be interesting to see how that pans out. There'll be a lot of one words in there that describe what people want for the year, or that describes them to set the direction for the year. Absolutely.
So Warren, moving into a better way of achieving your New Year goals and things that actually work. So what is it that we spoke about quite a few things over the last 15 minutes or so. So for you, what is it that sets out? What is it that stands out?
Yeah, well, for me, it's, as I said, it's about some course correction. So what I'm also getting at is we beat ourselves up a lot when we don't achieve things, and that can be detrimental too, because we can get quite negative if we're not achieving stuff. I've come across some work that looks at, I don't know if you're aware of the principle of design thinking, but design thinking apparently was the concepts that were used behind the Apple phone, creating the Apple iPhone. But what it basically is when applied to your life is that you don't have to be 100% right every time. So design thinking is about trying new things. If they don't work, don't beat yourself up about it. Just say, look, what did I learn from that? And try something else. And then, the culmination of those experiences makes you a more well-rounded person, makes you a better person, and you learn from those experiences. So what I'm saying is let go a little bit of the tension in achieving a goal and become a bit more, open to course correction. Mistakes are okay. It's all right. Just don't pat yourself on the back. Don't beat up on yourself. I think that's going to be one of my things this year. And and things will evolve. And often things evolve in synchronistic sort of ways, which can happen. A chance meeting with somebody might lead to a connection, which might lead to an overseas trip or a job lead or something like that. And that you can't. Sometimes you can't plan for those things. The only thing you can plan is really to be in that particular spot at that time. But who you meet and what that might lead to is unknown. And to understand and accept that there are some things you can't control, but there are some things that are unknown that can lead to dramatic life shifts and changes in your life. So be open to those possibilities, I think, and also is a key one for me this year.
Fantastic. It's great. and it's important that people, individuals look at that. And going into 2019, we've got another year ahead of us. We're already 2 weeks already into the year. So it's important that it is going fast and it will go fast. And it is. I have this. I know we're running out of time. We've got about 3 minutes or so. But I've also come across this thing all the time. And going over the last couple of weeks, I've heard this all the time. Oh, Ryan, you know what? I've gone into my goals in 2018. I've not hit them. I've missed quite a few, and this and that. And so what is it that I always say, hang on, it's never too late to keep moving forward. And so if you've left off from what you've done in 2018, you need to then reflect and say, okay, what is it that you're going to do different in 2019, right?
Absolutely. You're going to need to say, well, what didn't work, and don't hang on to it. Just let it go.
True.
And try something different, or meet some new people that will encourage you to do other things. So. Remember that slips do not predict failure. Slips are part of life, and you get up and you get on with it.
Absolutely. And Warren, any last thoughts you'd like to give our listeners? And I think it's important. We've really we've really run out of time. But if we want to definitely get you on board, one more segment, have a chat, dig a little deeper into this whole thing of a better way of achieving your New Year goals.
Right. Yeah, look, I just want to say to everyone, take a deep breath. Don't be too rigid about things. Understand that your goals can change and take into account that as well. Enjoy the year. Really, really have a good time. Life is about enjoyment and fun, I believe, as well. Sometimes we take our life a bit too seriously. And go to new places. Try places that you've been to before, but you see them with new eyes. I just went to Phillip Island the other day, and I had to travel through beautiful city of Casey and Cranbourne. And I thought, wow! Last time I was here, I met Ryan in the studio, so I thought, here we go. So just go to places that you haven't been to before, and open your eyes, and you'll see some new things. I think that's important.
New people, isn't it? That's important.
And new people as well. Absolutely, connections is extremely important for well-being in life, as I understand, and that's what I try to do as much as I can. Keep with your family, friends. Make sure you don't neglect those. They're key people in your life.
Fantastic. Warren, thank you for being on the program. It's an absolute privilege and a pleasure having you in the program. We're definitely going to get you back in the next few weeks or so and dig a little more deeper into this, achieving better ways of achieving your goals moving into 2019. Thank you, Warren.
Thank you, Ryan. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
There you have it, Warren FREHSE on the program. Great, isn't it? I mean, I've always never amazed with Warren and how he, he's doing a lot of work in the professional development area, and look, some great work. So, anyway, that's it for me. Wow, 30 seconds. It's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure being with you on the program. Until next Saturday, have an absolute blast of a time. This is Ryan Gomez signing off for now. Bye.